Welcome to Recruiting is No Joke. I am your host, Joe Lalgee, the realist recruiter. I want to first of all just thank you to everybody who has listened to these episodes over the past few months. We did a huge rebrand, kind of switched the focus of the podcast, and we have been getting hundreds and hundreds of downloads. So do me a favor, if you haven't subscribed to this podcast, please subscribe it. And if you're a job seeker or if you're a recruiter, if you're just interested in knowing what's going on in the job market, please consider sharing this podcast with a friend. But I want to just thank everybody who has engaged. I've been getting tons and tons of messages. You might notice again, I do not have a co-host this week, but we have so much to talk about, from statistics coming out that aren't true to the September surge. There's always a lot going on in the job market, and I am here to cover it. So first of all, I want to, again, thank everybody who has been engaging with me. I keep on getting messages from people saying this podcast has provided some value, and I'm getting really, really good feedback from guests as well. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Recruiting is No Joke. We'll be right back to this episode, but first, I wanted to thank this week's sponsors of the podcast, Sourcewhale. Sourcewhale is revolutionizing personalized outreach. It's not just user-friendly, it's a powerhouse with custom variables, automated follow-ups, and multi-channel capabilities, including phone, LinkedIn, email, and much more. Here's what makes it stand out. Users have seen an average increase of 56% in qualified response rates. With Sourcewhale, you're equipped with AI-powered tools like Content Coach and Whale GPT. This ensures that your messages rise above the rest, especially with Google's latest delivery updates. These tools have been trained on over 21 million pieces of top-performing outreach content, fine-tuning your strategy to secure better engagement, more meetings, and of course, higher revenue. Sourcewhale integrates seamlessly with your CRM and ATS. It automates the mundane, organizes your outreach, and even cues you on who to contact next, freeing you up to focus on what you do best, recruiting. Ready to revolutionize your outreach? Visit sourcewhale.com/realistrecruiter and see why thousands of top recruiters are making the switch today. But I wanted to start off today's show. I am going to play a video which is basically reporting that the Labor Bureau of Statistics has actually, they overestimated how many jobs were in the market. And when I talk about overestimating, we're talking almost close to 1 million jobs. And so, as you know, I've kind of coined the frame, the 2024 job market is absolutely brutal. And one of the things that happens when I do those posts is so many people jump in the comments and they'll say things like, you're full of it. The data doesn't back that up. There's plenty of jobs. These people are lazy. There's jobs that are added. The unemployment is low. And always in my head, I go, look, guys, you've got to have context for these numbers. And also, you've got to listen to what's going on. Like, I get hundreds and thousands of messages from job seekers. I get thousands of comments on my videos that say, yeah, I'm really struggling. It's really, really tough out here. And those are the people that I'm listening to. So I'm going to play this video. I wrote on here, for anyone who can see as well, the actual TikTok caption says, "See, Mom, I was right the whole time," which I thought was funny. But I posted this on LinkedIn and it went viral on LinkedIn. I actually posted it on Instagram, and the original post was on TikTok. So for any of you that could see my screen, you could just read what it says. But for those who are just listening, the headline on this one says, "The BLS is full of BS." Thank you. That was my creative writing at work. It says the job market is far worse than they have been saying. So let me play this for you guys. Job market in 2024 is absolutely brutal. That's my classic. I've been saying this now for months and months, and every single time I do a post like this, somebody comes along and says, well, the numbers don't back up what you're saying. Well, guess what? They have been overestimating the jobs that have been added. The BLS, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that is a mouthful, has admitted that they have overestimated by over 1 million jobs since March. What that means is every single time you see one of these reports on LinkedIn or Forbes or wherever, and they're saying it's a really hot job market, we're adding these jobs are open, it is not true. And look, this is what I have a problem with. Sometimes people have their heads so far in spreadsheets other places
that they're not even looking at what's actually going on. This is why when I get hundreds, if not thousands of DMs from people saying, I'm really struggling, it's really tough out here, I'm not sure where all of these jobs are, that's what I listen to. I got my ear to the ground. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to people who are commenting on my videos. So for anyone who's out there who's struggling and he's going, man, it's just really, really tough to find a job. And then they're reading these articles saying it's a hot job market. This is validation that it isn't. So please repost this with someone who's on the job search. They need to hear this news.
All right. And I did also want to point out this is not my only outfit. Okay, because you see I was wearing the same sweatshirt and hat. I have other clothes. Not a lot, but I have other clothes. But yeah, look, I think this is where like I really, really struggle when people just come at me with data and they're coming at me with these things because again, we're gonna talk about the September surge in a little bit. I remember last year I was like, there's no September surge. It's not gonna happen. Not because like really negative, but because I just didn't think the job market was strong, just like I don't think it's strong right now. But the month after I did that, the same department that's just admitted that they overestimated, that same department said there was a September surge. And sometimes I think the people who are coming up with these numbers, like it's almost like there's some other agenda that they have, right? There's politics in there. Nobody wants to admit that the job market is weak. They're worried that it's going to show panic. But here are two things which are actually somewhat good for us right now. Number one, because the job market isn't as strong as they've been saying for months, the person that controls the interest rates, Powell, I believe his name is, he has said that they are going to actually be lowering interest rates again, or that's the plan. And lower interest rates, that's a good thing for all of us. Lower interest rates means we're not going to have to pay, as much if we borrowed money, obviously. And it's a step in the right direction. I think it helps with the real estate market. It also helps with companies that a lot of these companies, they operate in a large amount of debt. So, it means that they're going to have to pay less in their debt, which means that they can have more money to hire people and grow. And I think most people would agree that with the interest rates so high, most people are saying, hey, it's a tough economy to buy a house. So they're lowering the interest rates because of the job market. That's a bright side. And the second bright side, if it is a bright side, is for anyone who is actually been feeling like the job market is tough and they've just been told, like, suck it up, it's not that bad. We're finally hearing like validation for how you feel. So obviously, it's not really like a good thing, but it can be a good thing. And I feel some validation with that because I've been saying this for so long and I get so many people hating on me. It's good to have some validation. Like, I'm not crazy and I'm listening to you. So, let me know what your response to this is. Would love to hear your response. If you're listening to this on YouTube or you're listening to it on Spotify, like, just let me know. Send me a DM. Would love to hear your thoughts with this. So yeah, so that's what we're seeing as far as those numbers. I want to actually talk about something else too that I've been seeing quite a bit, and it's something that's made the news recently. I've seen some other creators posting about it, and I want to talk about like kind of the two sides of the coin here. So let me share my screen again, and I'm gonna play this video. I might not play the whole thing.
Have any of you guys applied for a job, not heard anything
By
back,
the way, I'm wearing a
basically
different
been
t-shirt.
ghosted, and then a week later, that same job is posted on Indeed or in LinkedIn. And then you keep seeing the same jobs reposted, reposted, reposted. What is going on with this? Well, there is a strategy known as pipelining, which is basically where you put a job posting up, get applicants, get a ton of information for future candidates. And the idea is that when you actually need to hire for the position, instead of starting from scratch and having to find someone and having to put a new job posting on, you can literally go to your ATS and you can find candidates that are already interested in the position. I am not a fan of this practice because, let's face it, just because you're interested in a job one day doesn't mean that in a year you're still going to be interested in the same job. But it is a way to keep teams that don't have a lot of active hiring busy, and it's a way to look like you're doing some activity. But this is a big reason why you need to apply to a lot of jobs right now, because a large percentage of the jobs that you're seeing are just ghost jobs.
For anyone who didn't see the caption on that video, it just says recruiter explains ghost jobs. So look, I hear about this one a lot, and I've had quite a number of recruiters also saying that they're aware of this as well. I've actually had a number of recruiters say that clients that they want to work with have said, hey, we're just posting this job, we're not actually hiring. To which somebody else who I know who's a pretty prominent talent leader said, well, of course, they're going to say that. Like, if they don't want to do business with you, that's a great excuse just to say, hey, we're actually not doing that much hiring. Nevertheless, I think we all see this, right? Where you apply to a job and maybe you get a notification saying we're not hiring, or you go through the interview process and then they say, we decided that we're not going to hire. And then you see that same job reposted, or you just see the same jobs reposted time after time and time. And with job searches just being longer in general right now, if you're really keyed in to one specific job title and you get notifications about new jobs that have that job posted or job title, you're obviously going to see this if it's happening. I mean, if you've been on the job search for 6 months and let's say you're looking for a project manager position and you get alerted every single time a project manager position pops up, you're going to see that. You're going to see the pattern of this. So there's like really two options with it, right? It's either like you're crazy or these companies are really growing, which we just know right now. Like there's just not a lot of companies that are growing like crazy. So, as a recruiter, I have heard the term pipelining, and I used to hear this more on the agency side of the business. So this is with clients we'd work with. Let's say if they didn't have any roles, we would say things like, hey, let us pipeline for you. Let us start collecting data for upcoming positions, and you could pay us to do that if you don't have any active roles. So I've definitely heard that as a strategy. And I've talked to internal teams as well that have said, hey, yeah, we're pipelining. We're just pipelining for candidates. We're trying to find people for when that job opens up, so we have a little bit of a head start. But I like to get other thoughts on this as well. So I'm going to share my screen again here. One of my, someone I really, really respect, I've been on his podcast, obviously a LinkedIn top voice here, Matthew Parker, who is director of talent, LinkedIn top voice, and also has the podcast Open to Work, which I was recently on. He's also started a job seeker community. Nothing but respect for Matthew. But Matthew says, after the great debate of ghost jobs this morning, let's find out. Recruiters of the world, have you ever been asked to post a ghost job? In this super official poll, every poll on LinkedIn is official, and guys, I love LinkedIn polls. We're about to find out how big of a problem is this. So he says, have you ever posted a ghost job, aka a job that doesn't exist? And so I voted, said, no, I've been asked to before. And we said 12% of recruiters flat out said yes, which for me, then I don't know who actually voted, but that means it's probably something that happens, right? People wouldn't just say yes. 71% said no. Another 12% said no, but I've been asked to. And then people said yes, but a long time ago. So look, I'm going to say that the majority of recruiters said no, but there's a, 30%. So 30%, that's almost a third of recruiters have said, yeah, I have been asked to, or yes, I have, or have in the past. Liz said, so I'm going to read through some of these comments. Liz said, Matthew, you can see how they vote. Are legit recruiters, especially corporate in-house, going to actually admit they've done that on LinkedIn and harm their personal reputation? Someone else said there are plenty of ghost jobs about in the UK. A lot of recruitment agencies have half the vacancies they advertise. Companies are just as guilty as this nowadays. Samir said, never been asked to post a ghost job. However, there have been plenty of cases where a mandate was given to me, and despite good candidates, there was no follow-up from the company or the job went on hold. So then it's like, well, what is a ghost job? And so my mind is two things. There are positions which are real jobs, because again, if you go to that poll, he's asking like a job that doesn't exist. I believe that these jobs do exist. I just believe that they're not always open. So to Samir's point here, to me, there's two things. Is either jobs that might open up in the future, and they're just trying to get candidates that might be interested in the future. So it's easier to reach out. Like you have their emails, you got them in your system, you got them in the ATS, and you can follow up to them. Or you've got these jobs that just go on hold. And so then you ask yourself, like, did they know the job was going to go on hold? Didn't they? But I would just look at this and I would say, even based on this, obviously there's a majority of people are saying no. So for those people who are out there, 71% of people said no. But for the third of those recruiters and people who said yes, that is enough to me to assume that like this is actually a thing that's going on. So I would love to hear from you guys. Do you think ghost jobs exist? Either comment on this if you're on YouTube, or again, send me a DM. I'm always wanting to hear from you. And I will also say too, if you go to www.therealistrecruiter.com, each week I take these podcasts and I do a quick summary, and that is actually a way that you can reach out to me. So if you go to www.therealistrecruiter.com, the first thing that's going to pop up is going to say subscribe to the newsletter. subscribe to that newsletter because then you can reach directly out to me. But either way, I want to hear back from you. Are we crazy here? Are job seekers crazy? Are people like me crazy? And I will also say too, I don't think every company is doing this. I just want to highlight this, but I have to believe that some companies are doing this. Another reason people have also said in the past that companies do this is to appear to their competition like they're growing, or even to their investors. Investors want to see growth. So if you post a lot of jobs, makes it look like it's growing. Either way, the last thing I'll say about this is the reason I'm so big on people applying to a lot of jobs. In any other market, I would say that is not the strategy, and you should be really focusing on the quality of your jobs. But in this market, you have to do both. You got to apply to a lot of jobs, and they got to be the right jobs. And the reason I say that you need to do both is because of situations like this. And the reality is, when you actually apply to a job, you have zero idea if they have final rounds going on, if it's on hold. You don't know the status of that job. And then if you couple in there, you have these ghost jobs, which in my mind, this poll even confirmed that that's happening. It's like, what percentage of those jobs that you apply to are even active jobs or they're at the beginning of the search? And that happens, even if it's a new job posted, that just means the post is new. Doesn't mean that the job is new. And so that's why my best practice for people is to try and apply to the new jobs that are posted. But again, doesn't necessarily mean it's a new job. Apply to a lot of those jobs and apply to the right jobs. And then doing extra things like we've talked about in other episodes, following up with the hiring managers. It's huge. If you can find out who the hiring manager is by doing some mapping on LinkedIn, looking at who would I actually report to in this role. And again, somebody's using common sense. If I'm a director, I'm probably going to report into a VP. If I'm a manager, I'm probably going to report into a director. If I'm a lead, I'm going to report into a manager. So you can start to think about, who do I report into right now? Is it a similar size company? And if it's a similar size company, the likelihood is you're reporting to somebody with the same title. If it's a bigger company, it might be someone with a lower title. If it's a smaller company, it might be someone with a higher title. So just use that logic. And if you find those people, you follow up with them. But it's really, again, applying to a lot of jobs because you don't know which ones are active, applying to the right jobs, and then really doing that extra work. So let me go. Again, I'd be curious to hear what you guys think. Is that a good strategy? Am I full of it? You could let me know. So I'm going to get to another story here. This one I'm kind of excited about in terms of, again, I made a prediction. I think it was around December last year. And basically my prediction, and I made this prediction again because I just believe it's true, right? That's why I make predictions. But I am predicting that the Great Resignation 2.0 is coming. And it could be a 1.5. Might not be 2.0, but there is going to be a new wave of Great Resignation. Right now, they're actually saying that we're in what we call the Great Stay, which means people are less likely to want to move companies or find new jobs because they've heard that the job market is tough. And it also, it's almost like that whole thing of like the evil you know is safer than the evil you don't know. So if there's a lot of uncertainty around markets, if your company is stable, right? You can get that sense. But a new company, you don't even know what you're getting into. And this is causing a lot of people to stay. And one of my really, really close friends and mentors in the recruitment space, a man called James Hornick, who was a partner at a recruitment firm that I used to work for called Hirewell in Chicago, he reported about 2 weeks ago that counteroffers at their firm had been up. And counteroffers are essentially when a company makes you a job offer, you go back to your company and say, hey, I'm going to leave. And then your company says, hey, how about more money? Or how about a promotion? Should have given you that originally, but how about we give it to you now? And then you decide to go, you know what? Actually, I'm going to stay with you guys. That is a counteroffer. And they've reported that that is going up, which would coincide with this whole idea of the Great Stay. So a survey was done, and the survey was done by resumebuilder.com, which obviously probably their email list is full of people who are looking for jobs, right? So you got to kind of keep a grain of salt for that. But there's also been another survey, I believe that it was from Microsoft as well, or from LinkedIn, that kind of confirmed this. And basically, the survey said that it found that 28% of workers said they are likely to quit their job still in 2024. So and younger generations are more likely to do this. This is what they're saying. So what I've been saying for a long time is, right now, we've seen offers are lower. We're seeing a return of the office. And what I believe is going to happen is the job market, which is a market, right? So when you think about any market, it's supply and demand, and markets shift. Like the job market, we should all know it's shifted from where it was in 2021 when we had the Great Resignation. It's now shifted into pretty much an employer market, right? Like companies post jobs, they get a lot of applicants. They kind of handpick who they want to go through. We see really, really long interview processes, which I talk about all the time. We see assessments. We see a bunch of stuff that indicates it's an employer market. And a couple of things that we see as well: lower pay, because again, if they've got 5 people, they will get the lowest amount they can. And then we see a return to office because, again, they know that people are not going to quit their jobs. And so we're seeing these things, right? But as soon as companies start to hire again, and let's say 60% of companies start to believe that they can grow and the future is better, they'll start hiring. And what will happen is the same thing that's happened since I've been in recruitment in 2015. We'll go back to a shortage of talent. And when we have a shortage of talent, that means candidates have a little bit more control. And that's when we start to see things like remote work come back, because it's just easier to recruit people when you offer remote work, right? If you offer hybrid or in the office, you can only recruit from that geography. As soon as you make it remote, you can hire nationwide. And then we also start to see pay go up, right? Because whatever you're making now, if you're making 80K and a recruiter reaches out to you, you're not going to say, yeah, I'll take a job for another 80K. No, you're going to say, listen to what you have to say, but I'm targeting 90 to 100 now. And then you get that 90 to 100 job, and then a few later, and that's how how wages go up. And we saw that happening a lot in 2021. But because of these things, I think going from the great stay, which is what we're in right now, where a lot of people are hesitant to move jobs, if suddenly the job market, and it won't be suddenly, I hate to use that word, slowly over time, more companies will start to hire. And, I would anticipate you'll probably be at the height of this in a few years, but it will start to happen. A lot of people, for example, say after the election, we'll start to see more and more companies hire again. The uncertainty will be gone. We'll know what the future is, or at least we have an idea of who the president is and what their policies are. So people feel a little bit more certain. If we see these interest rates go down as well, and we start to see more positivity around the market, that is going to trigger more hiring. And so all those companies that lowballed people, all those videos I make about toxic bosses and just leaving your toxic boss behind. Yeah. That's what starts to happen. People go, you know what? My boss is toxic. I hate this place. And then sneaky little recruiters like me come and whisper in your ear, hey, got this great opportunity for you. Are you interested in having a conversation? And we start that whole thing again. And that hasn't happened now. Look, this hasn't happened in almost 2 years, okay? I started seeing a big shift in the market back in July of 2022. So the Great Resignation 2.0, let me know what you think. Again, go to www.therealistrecruiter.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you can email me back when I send that newsletter. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And you know what? Maybe I'll do a poll on LinkedIn. I'm reporting that. In fact, I'm going to do a poll on LinkedIn sometime next week, and I'll ask my network, what do you think? And you'll be able to go to that. So as you guys know, I love to do LinkedIn polls a lot. So let me know. And by the way, if you are just listening to this, I pulled this article from USA Today. Shout out to Sarah Chernikoff. Well done. So now we're kind of coming to the end of the session here. I want to share my last piece of news. And I alluded to this at the beginning of the show. We are going to talk about something that just rolls around every year: the September surge. And for anyone who can't see, I pulled this article from Millennial in Debt. Sounds like a great newsletter. Probably has a ton of stuff actually, which I could use. But Millennial in Debt sounds like it's a lifestyle money website where you can. I don't know. I really actually don't know what it is, but it says all things modern, bougie, and millennial. There you have it. So in the career section, they're saying 6 ways to prepare for the September surge 2024 during the summer. And guys, look, I hate to be this guy, like the guy who is like, oh man, it's all doom and gloom, but come on. Like, this is just what happens every year. And you know who the people who push this more than anyone else? You'll notice it's never companies. Companies never talk about this. There's 2 people. It's the resume writers and it's the career coaches, or the career advice people. They're the ones who always do it. And they're like, get prepared. You need to get your resume prepared. And luckily, I sell a resume course. Okay. And look, I sell a resume guide, but I would never I just want to say I would never get behind the September surge. In fact, last year, I was interviewed by USA Today about this very topic. And I said, look, the September surge is a somewhat real thing. And all it really is, all the kids go back to school. Summer vacations are over. Schedules normalize. And so, yes, after Labor Day until Thanksgiving, you do see a push for hiring. And again, schedules are normalized. So any of you recruiters will know, or anyone who's been in interviews, you're like, dang, man, these interviews are so long. Half of that's just trying to get same people in the same room during the summer because everybody takes vacation in the summer, right, with their kids. And then it's like, boom, Labor Day hits, the kids are back to school. And I also do think there's a shift in the mindset of like, think about like when we're growing up, it was like September was like the beginning of the year. And even though if your company is operating on a January to January like fiscal system, there's still something about like fall time and like going back to school, which I think is just programmed in us to think, okay, it's like a new beginning. It's a new start. It's the start of the school year. And if you have kids, then you're running on that cycle anyway. But I think what we need to look at is like, it's not like if we're in a really crappy job market, which we've been talking about this whole episode. It's not like suddenly people go, September, here it is. We're gonna go back to the Great Resignation right now. So I just want to get the expectations out there that I do think there'll be a little bump in hiring because of, again, schedules normalizing. But it's not like companies just go, all right, this is it. This is hiring season. Let's just get all our hires in. Now, what I will say is there will be a push from the schedules normalizing. And then as we get later on in the year, there's always a push at the end of the year because people have budgets. They don't want to lose them. And part of those budgets are hiring people. So you do see some hiring going on. But I just want job seekers out there to be realistic about this. I don't want you to think, oh, it's cruise control. It's going to be so easy. Like as soon as September 1st hits, it's going to be so easy. It's just not going to be like that. And I hate the term surge. I think it's going to be a September trickle. Okay. So I said that first. Forget the September surge. It's going to be a September trickle. Now, what's going to happen here is I'm going to start making a lot more content about this over the next few weeks as we're heading into September and as we are in September. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of haters, as I always do. But again, I'm okay being the guy, the realist recruiter. I'm okay being the guy that's going to be authentic, going to tell you what's up, going to say, hey, this is BS. And the reason I feel confident giving an opinion in this is because not only do I just read and is my head buried in these news articles, I'm trying to follow the trends, trying to follow what's happening. I'm also listening to you guys. I'm listening to I'm reading the DMs that are coming through. I'm reading the comments. When I'm one-on-one with people and I'm doing my resume review with them and I'm sitting down and we're doing a job search strategy session, I'm hearing the pains, I'm hearing the struggles, okay? But the other thing that I'm doing, which is probably unique from resume writers and career coaches, I also go to a lot of industry events with recruiting leaders and I interview recruiting leaders, right? So like some of the co-hosts I've had on this show are recruitment leaders, like high up people who are making decisions and they're talking about these things. And they're the ones who are actually seeing behind the scenes. I have a lot of conversations with them on the podcast and off the podcast. Okay. Part of my business is recruiting. So when I'm recruiting, I'm having conversations with people who are involved with like people planning and headcount growth and all of those different things. And a lot of those people I'm talking to, none of them are like, oh man, September surge is going to be wild. Get ready for the September surge. A lot of them are like, yeah, still things are uncertain. So let me know again. What do you think? September surge? I read something else. This is a little off topic, but I read somewhere else too. It's like September surge and then January purge. I'm like, where do we get these names from? But hear it from me, September trickle. That's what I'm calling for. So let me know. And I'll probably have some more content on this as well in the podcast in a couple of weeks just to see like, did it happen? And by the way, again, the irony of this whole thing is last year I was like, it's not going to happen, not going to happen. Then it's like the Labor Bureau statistics. It's just such a bad acronym too. BLS. The BLS said that I was wrong and that there was a September surge, but that's the same BLS that overestimated by 1 million jobs. So I'm inclined to think I am right on this, and you could let me know again. So if you want to head over to www.therealistrecruiter.com, sign up for the newsletter, stay in contact. I have opportunities too, by the way, on that newsletter where you can actually email me back, but just go sign up for it. Super easy. It comes out once a week. It's just a recap of the podcast. Gives you an opportunity to engage as well. And please, 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 like I said at the beginning of the show, subscribe to the podcast. Share the podcast. Really, really does help. And guys, if you didn't know this, every single day I go live for about 45 minutes to an hour on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, you can find The Realist Recruiter. I go live around 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central Time. I am live and I'm answering questions. We're having conversations. So if you need help from me, if you want to reach out to me, check out one of those live sessions. Also, I go live on Tuesday mornings with a new venture that I'm involved in called the HR Morning Show. That's part of Purple Acorn. So if you want to listen to that show, you can find it. It actually streams on my LinkedIn on Tuesday mornings in the morning. So it's the HR Morning Show. But guys, I would love it if you could share this podcast, subscribe, leave comments. I'm really, really excited. And like I said, over the last couple months since we've rebranded, we've doubled the listenership, which is amazing. Like that is totally what I wanted. But if there's topics you want me to cover as well, subscribe to the newsletter so you can just write back and say, hey, I want to hear about this. I'm curious about that. If there's something you want me to report about, send me the links. Always happy to hear that. But I'm going to be out. I'm actually going to be out for the first time in like 2 years. I'm going to be on vacation for a full week. I'm super excited about it. So I'll be back in a week's time. You'll hear me. I'll be a little bit more refreshed. Who knows? Maybe I'll have shaved. And also, to let you guys know, in a couple days, there's RecFest. So I'm going to be reporting live from RecFest. I got some really, really good interviews lined up. I am going to be with Built In. So shout out to Built In. But if you're a recruiter and you're going to RecFest, let me know. Would love to see you. So take care, guys. Appreciate all of you. And thanks for tuning in to Recruiting is No Joke.